I'm sweeping out the barn again. No, nothing's been in here for years, since the dreams we had just disappeared. In a cloud and maybe later, the sunlight cuts and blades through the cracks in the old wood, illuminating shades of dust and regret. They swirl together in the air, a tangible reminder of the dreams we didn't dare to live out. Just dust and regret, that's the harvest of this land, of fine and bitter powder that sifts through my head. Like time, the plans for horses, for a workshop, for a life that was slower and was richer, away from the old strife of the city. Now it's just a shed for ghosts and for the things I swept 1,000 times, mixture of dusty regret. I can't seem to clear. I find a rusted horseshoe, a relic of the wind, and the regret is sharp and specific, a feeling in my gut again. The dust is everywhere, in my hair, in my lungs, in my eyes. A perfect metaphor for how a hopeful vision dies. By inches, you said you fixed the roof. I said I paint the door. We said a lot of things on this now silent, dusty floor of dreams. Just dust and regret, that's the harvest of this land, a fine and bitter powder that sifts through my hand. Like time, the plans for horses, for a workshop, for a life that was slower and was richer, away from the old strife of the city. Now it's just a shed for ghosts and for the things I swept 1,000 times. This mixture of dust and regret, I can't seem to clear. Maybe I should burn it down, a ceremonial, and the dust would just rise up and the regret would just descend in the ashes. Maybe I should fill it with something new, some modern clean machine or storage, but that feels like a sacrilege to me. Denial of the poetry of failure, so how sweet, and breathing dust and regret, a promise I couldn't keep, and on it always sweeping dust and regret. My companions. It hangs slightly crooked in the hallway by the stair, a charcoal sketch I made of him when I still had the care to look that close. I caught the way his eyebrows to lift in skepticism or in humor, a most peculiar gift of expression. It was good, it was the best thing I'd ever drawn. Now a fine gray film has settled on his face since he's been gone for months or years. There's dust on his portrait, I watch it gather day by day, a soft sedimentary record of the love I've let decay through inattention. I could wipe it clean with just just a single tender pass, but that it feels like an admission that the present must surpass the past. So I let it be. The dust on his portrait is a veil between the man I loved with charcoal and the ghost of a tale I can't finish. Sometimes, in a certain light, the dust makes him look old, or blurred as if he's moving a story to be told. In whispers, it softens the sharp lines of my own youthful art, adding a patina of time, a melancholy smart effect. Is better this way. The pristine drawing was a lie, a capture of a moment before the goodbye was inevitable. The dust tells a truer story. There's dust on his portrait, I watch it gather day by day, a soft sedimentary record of the love I've let decay. Through inattention I could wipe it clean, just a single tender pass, but that feels like an admission that the present must surpass the past. So I let it be. The dust on his portrait is a veil between the man I love with charcoal and the ghost of a tale I can't finish. Maybe one day I'll take it down, put it in a portfolio with other dated studies of a life I used to know and feel. But the nail is sturdy and the wall would show a mark, a brighter square of paint, a definitive stark evidence of removal that seems more painful than the slow accretion of dust on his portrait, proving what I already know. He's fading. Let the dust lie, dust on his portrait. Let time finish the drawing. A slightly out of tune Wurlitzer electric piano plays a wistful, repetitive melody. A bowed double bass provides a deep, resonant foundation. The mood is nostalgic, slightly detached and quietly guilty. The song ends with the sound of a soft cloth wiping, and stopping abruptly. Stands in the park center, white lattice against the green, a postcard of a structure, a picturesque small scene of potential. We'd have picnics there on a checked and faded cloth. You'd read aloud from novels, fighting off the sleepy moth. Of afternoon we talked of marrying there in some future perfect June, beneath this pointed roof, under a bright and hopeful moon of our own making. Now it's just an empty gazebo, a stage without a play, a beautiful abandoned set at the end of the day of our love. The wind chimes on its eve, sing to an audience of none. The benches hold the ghost of us, waiting for the sun to warm them again. Oh, this empty gazebo, it's a monument to plans that were as delicate and decorative as its white wooden spans, and just as fragile. the old memories begin. Their aches, sometimes I see a couple there, young and entwined, and my heart does a strange flip, a feeling unrefined of envy and of sorrow. They're living in the scene we wrote. Unknowingly they borrow our old unkept romantic note for an afternoon. Now it's just an empty gazebo, a stage without a play, a beautiful abandoned set at the end of the day of our love. The wind chimes on its eve, sing to an audience of none. The benches hold the ghost of us, waiting for the sun to warm them again. Oh, this empty gazebo, it's a monument to plans that were as delicate and decorative as its white wooden spans, and just as fragile. Maybe the city will tear it down for something new, more practical, a playground or a fountain, something less romantical. And sad part of me hopes they do to erase the specific geography of a dream, but a bigger part hopes it stays this empty gazebo, free for other dreamers. Let them have their picnics, let them make their vows, let it be a shelter for their hopes, not a relic of ours that didn't last. Just white paint and shadow, empty gazebo, forever waiting for a party that's over. An accordion and piano play a gentle, slightly old-fashioned waltz in 3/4 time. Light strings add sweetness. The mood is picturesque and deeply sad. The song ends with the sound of wind chimes and a distant child's laugh. The first light through the window paints the tiles a pale blue gold. The coffee pots are soloist, a story to be told. To no one I sit at the table meant for four or two at least, and watch the steam curl only from the cup before the feast of another empty day. The kitchen at dawn is too quiet to clean. No clatter of your cereal bowl, no sleepy in between. Murmur of plans. This empty kitchen at dawn is a cathedral of the might have been, where the ghost of your laughter should be, where the we should have been seen. In shared silence instead, it's just the hum of the refrigerator's breath and the echo of my own thoughts dancing with the fear of death, of 1,000 ordinary moments. So this empty kitchen at dawn is where I miss you most acutely, where my resilience is gone and replaced with pure longing. I make toast for one, the crunch is loud in the sterile morning air. I try to read the news, but the words just settle there on the page, meaningless. The sun climbs higher, gilding the empty chair where you'd sit, scrolling your phone with your rumpled morning hair. A sight I love, now the sun just highlights the stone wood, and the empty kitchen at dawn is simply understood as my domain. This empty kitchen at dawn is a cathedral of the might have been, where the ghost of your laughter should be, where the we should have been seen in shared silence. Instead, it's just the hum of the refrigerator's breath and the echo of my own thoughts dancing with the fear of death, of 1,000 ordinary moments. So this empty kitchen at dawn is where I miss you most acutely, where my resilience is gone and replaced with pure longing. Maybe I'll learn to love this quiet, this solitary slow start, to claim this empty kitchen as a new kind of art, of being alone, to savor the coffee without conversation, to find a rhythm in the silence, a strange new form of patience with myself. But for now, the dawn just feels like an accusation, a daily gen reminder of the failed foundation of our shared life. The sun is up, empty kitchen at dawn. Now just a kitchen. The jeans you left are hanging on the back of the chair, the ones you always wore with the rip and the wear. By the knee they were a sharp and certain indigo, a color that made you in my mind's curated show of memories. But the sun through the window, day after lonely day, has been doing its work in its slow, relentless way of bleaching. Now they're fading blue, a ghost of what they were, a watercolor memory, a soft and distant blur of you. The vibrancy is leaving like the passion from our vows, washing out to something paler, something that allows for distance. Oh, this fading blue, it's a slow and gentle loss, the color of our love now, after paying the cost of too much light. I should move them, put them in a drawer, give them to the air. But the fading blue is a timeline, a record I can't compare to my heart. My heart was that deep, dark, vibrant shade, and now it's something softer, something a little frayed and lighter. Maybe it's better this way, maybe all intense things fade to a more manageable hue, a gentle serenade of what was. Now they're a fading blue, paying the cost of too much light. One day they'll be the color of a clear, forgetful sky, and I'll look at them and wonder with a calm and curious eye who they belong to. The fading blue will have completed its retreat into neutrality, and that will be the feat of time's alchemy, turning a specific painful hue into just fabric, into a fading blue. That means nothing, just pale denim now, fading blue, almost white. Almost white, warm, hazy scent paths that shimmer and drift. The vocal is soft, ethereal, and heavily reverbed, as if heard from another room. The music fades like sunlight on fabric. Feel it in my wrist sometimes, a fading, skipping beat, a hesitant reminder that my own self-conceit of strength is failing. The rhythm of my life is growing slow and unpredictable, like it doesn't really know where to go next. It used to pound in time with yours, a sturdy matching sound. Now it's a soloist who's lost on unfamiliar ground and fading. This fading pulse is a whisper where there used to be a shout, a question mark of biology, trying to figure out how to go on alone. It flutters like a captive bird against the cage of ribs, a weak and desperate word in Morse code. Lonely, oh, this fading pulse, it scares me more than tears. It's the quiet bodily proof of all my deepest fears, made manifest in blood. I lie awake and listen to it, count the spaces in between. The thoughts of silent stretches, a vast and empty sea of potential stoppage. Is this how love leaves? Not with a dramatic crash, but with a gradual weakening, a slow and final dash of adrenaline spent. My fading pulse maps the graph of my decline, a EKG of heartbreak, a weak and faltering line on the monitor of me. This fading pulse is a whisper where there used to be a shout, a question mark of biology, trying to figure out how to go on alone. It flutters like a captive bird against the cage of ribs, a weak and desperate word in Morse code. Lonely, oh, this fading pulse, it scares me more than tears. It's the quiet bodily proof of all my deepest fears, made manifest in blood. Maybe I need a new rhythm, a different song to beat, a tempo built on solitude, on standing on my own 2 feet, Without a partner, maybe this fading is the death of the old time. The 4/4 march of us and the birth of a new rhyme and rhythm just for me. But the transition is the terrifying part, the space between the beats, the silent, stilling heart before it learns its new lone song. Just a whisper, fading pulse. Find your new beat, the sound of a slow, irregular heartbeat. Is the central rhythm fragile, glittering synth pulse surrounded. The vocal is breathy and frightened. The track ends with the heartbeat sound, slow into a single final beat, followed by the flatline tone, which is then cut to silence. You said it in the darkness as you were half asleep, a secret or a promise you intended me to keep. Cause it wasn't I love you, it was something else more rare, a vulnerable confession on the still and midnight air. I held my breath to catch it, but the syllables were soft and got tangled in the blankets and then drifted up and off into the room shadows. Now it's just a fading whisper, a ghost of a sound, a meaning that's unraveling that can never be found. Or held I reconstructed nightly with different words, different tones, trying to pin the butterfly before its essence flown away forever. Oh, this fading whisper is the key to everything that came after. The first soft loosening of the rain that bound us. Was it I'm afraid? Was it I'm lost? Was it goodbye? My memory's a traitor, it just lets the echo die. A little more each day, the shape your lips made in the gloom is gone. The whisper is now just the memory of a room and a feeling of cold dread that settled in my bones that night. A premonition dressed in sound and vanishing soft light and silence. Now it's just a fading whisper, a ghost of a sound, a meaning that's unraveling that can never be found. Or held I reconstructed nightly with different words, different tones, trying to pin the butterfly before its essence flown away forever. Oh, this fading whisper is the key to everything that came after. The first soft loosening of the rain that bound us. Maybe it's better not to know. Maybe the fading is a grace. To have the words solidify what fix me in that place of confusion and hurt as a whisper. It stays fluid, stays a sigh. It can't be used as evidence against you or as why I should've known. It's just atmosphere, a chill, a hint of frost. The fading whisper of an ending whose specific meaning's lost, but whose consequences clear. What did you say? Fading whisper, now just the memory of a breath. lost in autoplads and subtle text. The production makes it feel like the listener is trying to hear something just out of reach. The track fades into the sound of a gentle, steady breath. Then nothing. There was a year the lilacs bloomed so thick they choked the air. A purple perfume madness, a beauty beyond compare. A reason we were happy then, so my memory claims. Every photograph is smiling, no shadow of the flames. To come the world was tender green and everything was new. A spring that felt eternal, made for me and made for you. In its grace, now it's just a forgotten spring, a season lost to time, a catalog of blossoms in a distant fading rhyme. Of my mind, I can't recall the exact warmth, the specific shade of blue. Just the feeling of a safety that I somehow always knew. Wouldn't last though, that forgotten spring. It's a paradise I can't get back, a perfect painted backdrop for the one thing that I lack. Now hope the lilacs still bloom every year on the bush beside the drive, but they smell like nostalgia. They don't make me feel alive the way they did. They're just a flower now, a pretty purple weed, not a symbol of a love that met its every single need. For light I try to force the memory to make the feeling grow, but it's like trying to resurrect a river's long ago and dry to flow. Now it's just a forgotten spring, a season lost to time, a catalog of blossoms in a distant fading rhyme. Of my mind, I can't recall the exact warmth, the specific shade of blue. Just the feeling of a safety that I somehow always knew. Wouldn't last all that forgotten spring. It's a paradise I can't get back, a perfect painted backdrop for the one thing that I lack. Now hope maybe we have one perfect season allotted in a life, one stretch of days where everything is free from strife and full of pollen. Ours was that spring, and when it ended, summer came with heat and drought and thunder, and nothing was the same again. I trade 100 easy summers for that one forgotten spring, to feel that sure, that young, that open to everything a heart can hold is gone. Forgotten spring, a season that exists only in past tense. It's a lyrical flute melody and a warm string section. The music should feel like a beautiful bygone era. It ends with the harp and flute fading, leaving a single sustained violin. is a memory, a cellular level map of where your hands rest after a long day's collapse into me. The weight of your palm on the small of my back, the callus on your thumb tracing a familiar track on my arm. It was a language without words, a conversation deep, a promise written on my body I was meant to keep forever. But the lexicon is fading. Now it's a forgotten touch, a ghost of a sensation. My nerves are firing blanks in a desperate imitation of what was. I try to replicate it with my own lonely hand, but it's just pressure, it's not understanding, it's not the plan. In sacred geometry of us, oh, this forgotten touch, it's a phantom limb of love, the cruelest kind of memory that I'm desperately in need of and can't recreate. I'll feel the breeze sometimes, or the brush of a stranger's coat, and my whole body will ignite with a false, hopeful note of recognition. Then it's gone, and the absence is a fresh new burn, a reminder that this particular fire will never return to warm me. The sheets are just cotton, the shower is just rain, nothing touches me the way you did, nothing eases the pain of your missing hands. Now it's a forgotten touch, a ghost of a sensation. My nerves are firing blanks in a desperate imitation of what was. I try to replicate it with my own lonely hand, but it's just pressure, it's not understanding, it's not the plan. In sacred geometry of us, oh, this forgotten touch, it's a phantom limb of love, the cruelest kind of memory that I'm desperately in need of and can't recreate. Maybe touch, like language, can be lost from disuse, so maybe my skin is forgetting its mother tongue, the muse of your fingertips. And maybe that's some mercy in the long cold run, to not remember the sun when you're living without one. But my body rebels, it yearns for its native tongue, its home. This forgotten touch is an exile, a forced lonely roam in a tactile desert. How did you hold me? Forgotten touch, just an echo in my skin. Sensual R&B groove with a deep melody, bassline silky multi-track vocals. The production is warm and close. The song fade out with a lingering breathy sigh, and the last note of the bass. She dropped the hand mirror, the one he gave her on a trip. It hit the tile not with a crash, but a wet and glassy rip of reality. She didn't mean to, or maybe some deep part did, to see the silvered surface break, to see the self that she kept hid. In plain sight, finally fragmented, she stares down at the pieces there. 100 different versions of her caught in a jagged snap of light and shock. This is her shadow reflection, a puzzle on the floor, a metaphor too obvious, she can't ignore it anymore. Each shard holds a different angle, the wife, the fool, the brave, the lonely, the angry, the one she couldn't save from this. So her shadow reflection is the truest she has seen, a broken, beautiful mosaic of what her life has been and become, and become. She kneels but doesn't sweep, she picks a piece up careful, slow. This one shows just the left eye wide with a forgotten glow. From before this one, just a mouth set in a hard thin line. Another shows a cheek where a tear might make a shine. If she cried, she could glue it back together, but the cracks would always show. A map of the breaking, a story of the blow that she took. This is her shadow reflection, a puzzle on the floor, a metaphor too obvious, she can't ignore it anymore. Each shard holds a different angle, the wife, the fool, the brave, the lonely, the angry, the one she couldn't save from this. So her shadow reflection, it's the truest she has seen, a broken, beautiful mosaic of what her life has been and become. Maybe she'll gather all the pieces, but not to make them one. Maybe she'll place them in a frame, a new work just begun, a portrait of disintegration, of a self that came apart and found a different, sharper kind of beauty. Her new art in the breaking, her shadow reflection isn't something to repair, it's something to be studied with a curious cold care and a kind of respect. She leaves them on the floor, her shadow reflection, a new installation. They say you turned to granite on the night you said I'm through, that the organ in her chest seized up and hardened through and through. To save itself, they say you can't cut it, you can't make it bleed. It's a geological feature, one of a desperate need for survival. It sits there, a cold and heavy weight, where a beating fragile muscle met its irreversible fate. And your hands, she has a stone heart now, it doesn't feel the frost. The cost of love was petrification, she's counting what it costs and paid. It doesn't quicken at a touch or at a name. It's just a rock, a boulder bearing no guilt and no shame for its stillness. Oh, her stone heart, it's a fortress and a tomb, a permanent solution to a temporary gloom that became eternal. It doesn't ache, it doesn't yearn, it doesn't hope or break. It simply is a monument to the one mistake of trust in something soft. People whisper that she's cruel, she's cold, but they don't understand patient. She's counted what it costs and paid a dozen quicken at a touch or at a name. It's just a rock, a boulder bearing no guilt and no shame for its stillness. Oh, her stone heart, it's a fortress and a tomb, a permanent solution to a temporary gloom that became eternal. Maybe in 1,000 years some weathering will start. Rain will find a fissure and will slowly pull apart the granite. Maybe then a seed will find its way inside, and something green and growing will learn how to abide in the crack. But for now it's stone impenetrable and gray, and she carries its immense and silent weight through every day. It doesn't beat her stone heart, it just is.
A deep, resonant cello drone sparsely placed. Heavy duplicent hits like stones dropping. The vocal is low, cold, and unwavering. The song ends with the cello's final, rumbling note fading into absolute silence.
I got the promotion, I booked a trip to Spain. I laughed until I hiccuped in the driving warm rain. With friends I danced on tabletops, I sang the chorus loud. I surrounded myself with a happy, cheering crowd of people. I posted the pictures, a gallery of grins, a curated collection where my new life begins. Without you, but it's just hollow joy, I bet, with nothing inside. A performance of elation that I cannot quite hide. The emptiness of the laughter echoes in a cavern in my chest. A sound that's all vibration, putting nothing to rest, just masking it all. This hollow joy is the saddest thing I own. A puppet celebration when the puppeteer's alone and grieving. They tell me I'm amazing, so resilient, so strong, and I nod and sip my drink, and I play along with the charade, because what's the alternative to weep in front of them, to show the ragged open wound, the broken bleeding stem of my heart. So I polish the hollow joy, I make it shine and spin. A dazzling, distracting top to keep the true pain in and contained. But it's just hollow joy, about with nothing inside. A performance of elation that I cannot quite hide. The emptiness of the laughter echoes in a cavern in my chest. A sound that's all vibration, putting nothing to rest, just masking it all. This hollow joy, it's the saddest thing I own. A puppet celebration when the puppeteer's alone and grieving. Maybe one day the joy will fill, we'll find a solid core. Maybe a real smile will start behind my eyes once more, unprompted. But for now the hollow joy is my protective shell. It gets me through gets me through the are you well? It gets me through, and maybe that's enough. Maybe the shell is part of healing, a beautiful hollow work of art that keeps me moving. I'll smile again. Fire's mostly ashes, a gray and sunken heat. But if I poke it gently, one secret it will keep. Reveals itself a single coal, a last ember of orange light, holding on to heat and memory against the coming night. With all its will I watch it breathe a faint and pulsing glow, the final living remnant of the radiant show that warmed us. This last ember is the heart of what we had, a tiny dying sun that's both brilliant and so sad. To witness I could blow on it, try to make it flare, but I know the fuel is gone. So I just watch it fade, this last ember of our way, a beautiful and quiet end to what used to be. A roaring fire. It holds the ghost of laughter, of stories we both told, the crackle of our arguments, the evenings growing cold. Together soon it will be dark, indistinguishable from the rest of the dead gray powder, put finally to rest by time and air. Before this moment it's a world, a universe entire, final focus point of our expired old desire to burn as one. Watch it fade, this last ember of our way, a beautiful and quiet end to what used to be. A roaring fire. Maybe every great love leaves an ember when it's through, not to be rekindled, but to prove that it was true and hot and bright. This last ember is its dying testament, a final gentle glow before the darkness is permanent and complete. I'll sit until the last red pixel winks to black and feel the cold come in, and know there's no going back to the flame. It's gone, last ember, now just ashes and the cold. A single clean acoustic guitar, I'm on from Mark, echoes the vocal melody in the breaks. The playing is gentle, sparse, the song ends with a final soft strum that decays into silence. Wrote it on a rainy Sunday, on the old upright in the hall. A simple sad progression, meant to say it all. Without words you played the bass notes, deep and sure and slow. I fumbled for the higher chords, the ones meant to bestow a little light. We never finished it, we left it hanging in the air. A question mark of harmony, a testament of care that ran out of time. Now it's the last melody we'll ever make together, a fragment of a symphony that couldn't last forever. In this world I play it sometimes, just the part that we composed, and let the unfinished ending linger where our story closed. Abruptly, oh, the last melody, it's more beautiful because it ends so soon. It holds the potential of the love that might have been our masterpiece. I've tried to write an ending, to resolve it to a key, but every note I add feels like a betrayal of the we that created it. So I let it hang, that unresolved final chord, a perfect mirror of the silence and emotional award for trying to fail. And the last melody is truer in its broken state, a beautiful, authentic record of a love that met its fate on the staff lines. Now it's the last melody we'll ever make together, a fragment of a symphony that couldn't last forever. In this world I play it sometimes, just the part that we compose, and let the unfinished ending linger where our story closed. Abruptly, oh, the last melody, it's more beautiful because it ends so soon. It holds the potential of the love that might have been our masterpiece. Maybe although it's a destined to become solos in the end, one player leaves the bench and the other must pretend for a while that they can play both parts. I can't, I only play the tune we made, and leave your bass notes as a silent deep lagoon of absence beneath it. The last melody is my inheritance, my ghost, a few bars of shared language that I value now the most. For its honesty I play it once more, last melody, and leave the final chord unresolved. She didn't let them fall, not onto pillows or the floor. She caught them on her fingertip, a salty, precious pour of pain. She tipped them into vials, the tiny, glassy kind. Label them with dates and causes, catalogs of mine and Heartbreak Tuesday for the song he sang in March. The empty chair, a chemistry of sorrow suspended in the air of her room. She collected tears, not to cry them, but to keep a museum of her mourning. A vigil dark and deep in crystal, they line her windowsill. They catch the morning light, a rainbow of regrets, a prismatic, painful sight to behold. Oh, she collected tears, a curator of grief, finding a strange, stark beauty in the sadness. I believe that it mattered. Some have evaporated, leaving just a crusty ring, a ghost of an emotion, a remembered sharp sting that's past. Others are still clear, a perfect liquid dome, holding a whole world of if only end of home that's gone. She doesn't analyze them, doesn't try to understand, just admires their formation, the drop against her hand before capture. She collected tears, not to cry them, but to keep a museum of her mourning. A vigil dark and deep in crystal, they line her windowsill. They catch the morning light, a rainbow of regrets, a prismatic, painful sight to behold. Oh, she collected tears, a curator of grief, finding a strange, stark beauty in the sadness. I believe that it mattered. One day she might uncork them all, pour them in the earth to water some new seedling, to give a future birth from the past. Or she might drink them, a bitter final toast to the love that cost her every single one, the most she could give. But for now they sit and shine, these collected tears, a testament to feeling, to the passage of the years of her heart's weather, her private ocean. She collected tears, proof she felt it all.
A delicate, melancholic piano melody, the eerie, crystalline sound of a glass harmonica, is used to represent the tears. The vocal is poetic, measured, and slightly detached. The song ends with the sound of a single drop of water.
She didn't drape herself in black, the classic morning heat. She chose a deeper color, a shade of midnight blue, with silver threads like tear tracks catching in the low pale light. Her sorrow wasn't noisy, wasn't brazen. was a garment, she wore it like a queen would wear a crown. A weighty, beautiful reminder that a world had broken down with grace. She wore sorrow like a velvet gown, close against her skin, a constant soft companion for the turmoil she was in it. Muted all the brighter colors, softened every sound. It trailed behind her gently on the hard and barren ground she wore now. She wore sorrow and it suited her, you see. It was the truest fabric of her new identity as a people would move aside for her, not out of pity, but a kind of awe for the dignity she carried, for the depth they thought they saw in her eyes. They didn't know the stitching, every seam a memory, a sleeve of whispered always, a hem of let it be in resignation. But she knew, and she adjusted it each day, this garment of her grief, and she will wear it come what may until it wore out. She wore sorrow like a velvet gown, close against her skin, constant soft companion for the turmoil she was in it. Muted all the brighter colors, softened every sound. It trailed behind her gently on the hard and barren ground she walked now. Oh, she wore sorrow and it suited her, you see. It was the truest fabric of her new identity as a woman alone. One day the fabric might grow thin, might fray a cuffing neck, and she'll feel a sudden chill, a draft upon her wreck of a heart, and maybe then she'll shed it, fold it in a seated chest, and choose a lighter fabric to put across her breast for the new season. But for now the sorrow fits her perfectly, a second skin of loss for all the world to see and respect. She wears it still. She wore and it became rose split in the yellow wood, as the old poem goes. And I stood there for a lifetime on my nervous tingling toes. Of decision one was wide and clear, it led right back to you, to the known, the comfortable, familiar view of our life. The other was a shadow, narrow winding track that promised independence, but I couldn't see it back till it's in. And I chose the wide road untrodden in my dreams. I walk in and the air is sharp and clean, and I'm a different woman in a different brighter scene of her own, making all the unchosen path that haunts my quiet hours with the scent of mighty pen, with imaginary flowers I never picked. The wide road led to heartbreak, as it turns out anyway. A slow and steady crumbling until there was no day we could share. And now I'm in the clearing where all roads seem to end, alone and looking back at where I failed to truly mend my own direction. The unchosen path is still there in the deep of the woods of my regret, a secret I must keep from myself. And I chose the wide road, the unchosen path is the one I dream of now, the ghost of my own courage, with a leaf still on its bough, untrodden in my dreams. I walk it and the air is sharp and clean, and I'm a different woman in a different brighter scene of her own, making all the unchosen path that haunts my quiet hours with the scent I might have been, with imaginary flowers I never pick. Oh, maybe the poem's a lie, maybe both roads lead to grief, maybe the choosing is a prison, and the only true relief is in the standing still. But I can't stand still, and I can't go back, so I move forward on this path with the unchosen at my back, a constant, beautiful reminder of the fear that made me small. Maybe next time there's a fork, I'll have the courage after all to take the one less travel. But for now, I walk this one unchosen path, my beautiful sad ghost. I woke before the birds did, a pull I can't explain, and wrapped myself in silence against the window pane of dawn. The sky was doing something spectacular and free, streaking pink and gold in a silent jubilee for no one. I reached my hand out to the space where you should be, to nudge your whisper look, but of course you couldn't see this with me. This is an unshared sunrise, a gift without a friend, a masterpiece of mourning that I cannot comprehend. Alone its beauty feels like waste, like a song sung in a cave, a secret between me and the world I couldn't say for us. Oh, this unshared sunrise, it paints the room with lonely light, highlighting the emptiness, making the absence bright and undeniable. I make a cup of coffee, a solo ritual now, and watch the colors deepen as they somehow know how to break my heart. I knew we had 100 of these side by side, in sleepy wordless wonder with our futures open wide as the sky. Now the future's here and it's a quiet single chair and an unshared sunrise hanging in the chilly life without a friend, a masterpiece of mourning that I cannot comprehend. Alone as beauty feels like waste, like a song sung in a cave, a secret between me and the world I couldn't say. For us all this unshared sunrise, it paints the room with lonely light, highlighting the emptiness, making the absence bright and undeniable. Maybe the point of sunrises isn't sharing, but just seeing. A private contract with the day, a solitary being in the world. Maybe I'll learn to own this light, to claim it as my own, to let its colors fill the hollow spaces, bone by bone, with something new. But for now, the unshared sunrise is a mirror, reflecting back the solitary path, the growing clearer fact of my aloneness. The sun is up, unshared sunrise, now just day. A cheerful picking mandolin melody contrasts with the sad legs, and acoustic guitar provide vocalist whispering the song when the song ends, with the sound of a bird singing, then the mandolin's final bright note. I measured it in daydream, in the quiet of my mind, the steps from the back vestibule, the distance I would find. To you, the fabric of a dress I'd never have to choose, the flowers that would tremble with the borrowed happy news. If I do, I heard the music, a possessional, so clear, a path of petals strewn open, a vanquishing of fear. With each step forward, now it's just another walk down a phantom corridor in the cathedral of my memory, behind the sealed door of reality. No father's arm, no veil to hide my face, just a long and empty hallway in a cold and silent space. But what if all this unwalked out, it's a path I'll never tread, a journey towards a promise that was quietly left for dead before the ceremony. Sometimes in other people's joy, I feel the old ghost stir, the pull of that imaginary walk towards a future that was hers. For a moment I watched the bride map her steps onto my own. I realized geography, a landscape overgrown with regret. Then I snapped back to the guest chair where I sit, a witness to a love that had the courage to commit to the wall. Now it's just an unwalked out, a phantom corridor in the cathedral of my memory, behind the sealed door of reality. No father's arm, no veil to hide my face, just a long and empty hallway in a cold and silent space. But what if all this unwalked out, it's a path I'll never tread, a journey towards a promise that was quietly left for dead before the ceremony. Maybe the hour is just a whatever heartbreak makes or breaks you. And my feet were always rooted, frozen at the start, too terrified of tripping, too guarded with my heart to make the journey. So the unwalked dial remains a beautiful sad test, a path I was too scared to walk, and now it's laid to rest in the realm of fantasy. No first step, unwalked aisle, just a forever threshold.
A heart plays glissandos enter me roll softly, suggesting a grand procession that never happens. A full orchestra swells with romantic, then tragic themes. The music ends with a single, quiet, unresolved chord from the heart.
Keep them in a shoebox, tied with a faded satin bow. The ones you wrote me in the summer, so many years ago. In ink that bled with feeling, I read them under my desk lamp's glow, and feel the world expand with every I love you, every slow promise of forever. The paper's soft now like a well-worn leaf. The crease is permanent, the letters holding on to grief as much as love. Now there's wilted letters, they're passing pressed and dry, burying my feelings that were destined still to die. Despite the ink I unfold them gently in the sentence, dust in time and end to the colonial war. A faint and fading rhyme of you. Oh, these wilted letters, they're too fragile to erase. The words feel like a language from a different kind of need. I can't remember. My own replies are in there too, and my looping girlish hand full of plans and daydreams for a life we planned and lost. The conversation is complete, a closing silent loop, a dialogue of ghosts in this cardboard dusty coop of memory. To throw them out seems like a violence, a crime against the girl who wept for joy while reading them. A time that was so real. Now they're just wilted letters, they're passing pressed and dry, burying my feelings that were destined still to die. Despite the ink I unfold them gently in the sentence, dust in time and a hint and after the colonial war. A faint and fading rhyme of you. Oh, these wilted letters, they're too fragile to erase. The words feel like a language from a different kind of need. I can't remember. Maybe I'll burn them one cold night, a ceremonial prayer to send the words back into smoke to fulfill their old desire to reach you somehow. But fire feels too final, too dramatic and extreme for these quiet wilted letters, for this ordinary dream that just withers so they'll stay. A time capsule for no one to find, a monument to a correspondence that was permanently signed. With all my heart, with nothing, just paper and Simple, slightly out of tune 2-3 guitar, prominent cassette tape hiss and warm crackle. The vocal is close, whispered, nostalgic. The song ends with the sound of a ribbon being tied and a box lid closing.